إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today's talk بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى, by Allah's grace, His mercy and His extreme fadl, we just want to show as a reminder بإذن الله the mawdu' or the unwan or the title for this topic inshallah ta'ala is isbir ya ayyuha sunni, be patient O Sunnee, for the inheritance, the irth of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not come without a price. And this is taken from the words of Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyyah in his famous Al-Qasida bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And before we begin reading these lines of poetry with the commentary of Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullah ta'ala عليه, I want to remind you of a beautiful statement that is along the lines of this topic inshallah, and that is istaqimi ya ayyatuha an-nafs. That is istaqimi ya ayyatuha an-nafs, asa an yakuna ar-rahil qariban. And that is, always remind yourself to be firm, O soul, for perhaps the departure is near. Perhaps the journey, okay, that you're going to make, that every one of us is going to make, is near. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَهُ بَعِيدًا وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. Allah said, indeed, they see the affair of the hour as something far off, but rather we see it something that's quite near. Rather, it's actually ever present. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, Al-Maut, death, is closer to you than your shoelaces. That death is closer to you than your shoelaces. So, istaqimi ya ayyatuha nafs. Remind yourself, be firm. Be firm upon what? Upon that which the Allah Azza wa Jalla have given you from the book, and upon the irth, the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ. Be firm upon that, O soul, for perhaps your departure from this dunya, this firaq, is soon is going to take place. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyyah, he says in these few lines of poetry, he says, لا توحشنك غربة بين الورى فالناس كالأموات في الحسبان أو ما علمت بأن أهل السنة الغرباء حقا عند كل زمان كل متى سلم الرسول وصحبه والتابعون لهم على الإحسان من جاهل ومعاند ومنافق ومحارب بالبغي والطغيان وتظن أنك وارث لهم وما ذقت العدا في نصرة الرحمن كلا ولا جاهدت حق جهاده في الله لا بيد ولا بلسان منتك والله المحال النفس فاستهدث سوى ذا الرأي والحسبان لو كنت وارثه لأذاك الأولى ورثوا عداه بسائر الألوان. Allahu Akbar. In these lines of poetry, he's going to give us not only a beautiful advice, but as well as what are you supposed to do, especially during the time we find ourselves in. And this advice is for those individuals who are being tested with their deen. Those individuals who practice Islam on any level that they practice, and they find that they are being persecuted or being some type of discomfort or harm is coming to them due to their adherence to the Quran and the Sunnah. This is not for the one who bid'awah, the one who just got claims and mere inscriptions. This is not for him. This is not for her who says, I'm Muslim, I'm Sunni, I'm this, but they don't do any of the implementations, nor do they face any of the trials or the tribulations that comes that way. This is not for them. This is for those individuals, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, who need the comfort that they hold firm to the book of Allah. And it's because they hold firm to the book of Allah, it's because they hold firm to the sunnah of Muhammad ﷺ that they face trials and tribulations. You thought you was going to wear the niqab and it wasn't going to be no problem. You thought you was going to have on the hijab and it wasn't going to be no problem. You thought you was going to wear the kufi and it wasn't going to be no problem. You thought you were going to pray and offer salat and it wasn't going to be no problem. You wanted to grow the beard and it wasn't going to be no problem. You thought you were going to command the good and forbid the evil and it wasn't going to be no problem. You thought you were going to hold on to Islam and it wasn't going to be no problem. La. Pay attention what Ibn Qayyim says here. He says, لا توحشنك غربة بين الوراء فالناس كالأمرات في الحسبان لا توحشنك غربة بين الوراء, meaning Sheikh Uthaymeen says, do not isolate yourself. Do not isolate yourself. Do not make yourself feel like you are alone. Okay? إذا كنت غريبا بين الناس, because when you are a stranger amongst the people regarding your deen, do not isolate yourself. Do not make yourself feel as though you are alone. He says, فَإِذَا كَانَ النَّاسُ فُسَاقًا وَكُنْتَ مُطِيعًا فَأَنْتَ غَرِيبٌ. He says, because if the people were all wicked, and you are one who was obeying Allah's commands, and that of the Prophet ﷺ, then you are gharib, you are a stranger. If you find yourself amidst wicked people, if you find yourself amongst people who are wicked, according to any type of, all types of different types of immorality, doing all types of things that are obscene, that are wrong, then what? If you are remaining patient upon your obedience, then you are a gharib, you are a stranger. He said, وَإِذَا كَانَ النَّاسُ مُعَطِّلًا وَأَنْتَ مُثْبِتٌ كُنْتَ غَرِيبًا. And if you are amongst a group of people, or amongst the people who deny Allah's attributes, His names or His verses, or distort them, or try to misinterpret them, or explain them away, then you are a person who affirms Allah Jalla wa Ala attributes and His names and so forth, and you do not explain them away. You accept them without asking how. You accept them without giving them any type of ta'atil or denial. Then he said, then you are gharib, you are a stranger. So do not isolate yourself or feel alone in regards to this matter. لِأَنَّ إِنسَانَ حَقِيقَةً إِذَا لَمْ يَرَ مَعَهُ أَحَدًا رُبَّمَا. He said, because the person in reality, when he sees that he doesn't have anyone along with him, it is possible that he start to feel isolated. It is possible that he start to haunt himself, or that he return back to which he was upon, or that he return back from that which he was upon guidance. Other words, he think that he's alone. There's no longer with someone with him, or he feels as though he don't have a group, or he don't have the support. What happens? He turned away from that which he knows to be right. She turned away from that which he knows to be right, because they feel alone. They feel isolated. That's why a lot of people want to feel a part of something. What he said, وَلِهَذَا أَكْبَرُ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم أَنْ أَيَّامُ الصَّبْرِ أَنْ عَامَلَ فِيهِنَّ لَهُ أَجْرٌ 50 مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ. Pay attention to this. He said, for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ has informed us about the days of patience. He wasn't talking about during his time. He was talking to the companions with one Allah Ta'ala alayhim. And he informed them about the days of patience. Qayyim. And he said those days of patience, that the person who is the one who is performing the act, the individual who does the acts, and during those days, his reward is going to be equivalent to 50 of the companions. His reward, his or her reward would be equivalent to 50 of the companions. This is collected by Abu Dawood in his book. He says, لِأَنَ إِنسَانَ إِذَا رَأَى مَنْ حَوْلَهُ وَهُمْ كُلُّهُمْ عَلَى طَرِيقٍ. He says, because if a person, when he sees that those who are around him, all of them are on a certain way, then he should not isolate himself or feel alone. He should not allow himself to feel strained or worried out. وَلَا يَزِلْ. Nor should he deviate from that which he's upon. لكن أيام الصبر كل الناس على خلافه فصعب عليه طاعة وتشق لكنه صابر راسخ قادمين. This is what we're supposed to have. He says, no. He said, even if the people, all of them are in opposition, they're on that which is different, then it becomes difficult upon him to be obedient. And it becomes difficult upon him. However, he remains patient and he became well grounded, meaning his 2 feet is firmly planted. وَلِذَا قَالَ. For this reason, Ibn Qayyim, he says, لا تحشنك غربة بين الوراء. Don't be isolated in regards into your strangeness. وهذا والله وهو حق. Shaykh what they mean, so this is the truth. فما دمت على نور من الله فمن أين تأتيك وحشة. As long as you are upon a light from Allah, then where's this isolation and this loneliness coming from? As long as you find yourself upon the light of Allah, when you wear your jilbab, that's a light from Allah. When you wear your thobe, that's a light from Allah. When you recite the book of Allah, that's a light from Allah. When you carry out the acts or the commandments of the Quran and the Sunnah, that's a light from Allah. When you go to the masjid, that's a light from Allah. When you are practicing the deen by being married and not taking a haram boyfriend or girlfriend, that's a light from Allah. All of these things are considered to be a light from Allah. As long as you are from a light from Allah, then where's this isolation coming from? He said, La wahsha. فأنت على دين. Don't become disheartened. Don't become isolated because you are upon the deen. وأنت على حق. And you are upon the truth. No one can humiliate you or disgrace you because of that. And indeed, you should soon be buried alone. And they too will be buried alone. And you should be raised by yourself on Yawm al-Qiyamah without any wealth or any children. He says, for this reason, do not isolate yourself from this. لأن أمامك أنس لا وحشة بعده. Because in front of you is what? Is these things that's in front of you is this hope thing that will take place, and after it, and this loneliness will take place after it. لكن إذا أنست مع الناس في مخالفة الشرع فهذا أنس بعده وحشة طويلة. Okay, so you find yourself along with the people having anis. Okay, along with the people in regards to the opposition of shari, of the opposing the commands and the legislation of Allah, then know that the despair and everything that would take place after it will be a long wahsha, a long period of isolation and loneliness. He said, وَحْشَةُ الْآنُ بَيْنَ غُرَبَاءِ تَزُولُ وَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا السَّاعَةِ. And he said that this isolation and this loneliness and this feeling down, he said, is wahshatul an amongst the ghuraba. Here is the plural for the word gharab, for the gharib. He says for the strangers, he says, know that this is going to leave you. It's not going to remain. And guess how long it's going to stay? It's only going to stay for an hour. كَمَا قَالَ مُعَلَى فَاصْبِرْ قَلِيلًا إِنَّمَا هِيَ سَاعَةٌ. He says, as the author said somewhere else in another part, he says, فَاصْبِرْ, be patient for just a little while. إِنَّمَا هِيَ سَاعَةٌ. It's only for an hour. And this concept of an hour, time being relatively strictly to an hour, is also found in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. And he's just saying that really your life is nothing but a number of days. And the number of days really are not that long. They're really actually simply short. So he's just trying to tell you that it's like an hour. لكن الشأن كل شأن في الأنس بعد هذه وحشة. He says, so the people, in reality, they are like dead bodies in this line of poetry. What do he mean? He said, in reality, they're like dead bodies. Who is he talking about? Check what they mean. He says, it can be possible that the meaning of this line of poetry is that the people are dead in respect to the rewards of those who are alive. Or that the people are dead, meaning that their reckoning or their account, hisabu mota qulub, meaning that their hearts are dead. They do not understand anything, nor is they aided. He says, for nas, for the people are like dead people. And the people of the truth, they are like the one who is alive. Rather, the one who is upon the truth is alive after his death. Now pay attention to this point. This is tremendous. He said, indeed, the one who is upon the Sunnah, the one who is upon the Quran and the Sunnah, he's still alive even when he dead. You might say, what is Shaykh Uthaymeen talking about? He's still alive even when he dead. What is he talking about? He mentioned here, he says, Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says in the Quran, أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. Al-ayah fi Surah Al-An'am. Allah says, أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا is the one whom is dead. فَأَحْيَيْنَاهَا, and we revive him, we give him life. وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا, and we make for him a light. Yamshi, whereby he can walk with it amongst people. كَمَنْ مَثَلِي, is he's like the one who's in darkness and he cannot come out of it. He cannot escape that darkness. He says, أَهْلُ عِلْمِ الْآنُ أَحْيَاءٌ بَيْنَنَا. So the people of knowledge, there are those who are alive amongst us. Now, he says, أَلَسْنَا كُلَّ يَوْمٍ نَقْرَأُ فِي كُتُبِ الشَّيْخِ الْإِسْلَامُ مثلا. He said, is it not today that if you can read the books of Ibn Taymiyyah right now, can you not read his books, for example? The answer is of course. فهو يعلمنا وهو شيخنا أستاذنا وهذه حياة هي حياة ولهذا قال الشاعر. He said, so in reality he is the one who is teaching us even though he is dead. He is the one who is our ustad even though he is dead. He is the one who is our sheikh even though he is dead. Ibn Taymiyyah is dead, but how many of his works are still remaining? He is still like he's our sheikh. He's still like he's teaching us. He's still like this. So this is what he's talking about, meaning that he's still alive. Meaning, in other words, his works and that which he had put forth still remains, even though he's physically gone. Do you understand that? That's the point he's trying to make. Qayyim? He says, Ibn Qayyim says, أَوَمَا عَلِمْتَ بِأَنَّ أَهْلَ السُنَّةِ غُرَبَاءَ حَقًّا عِنْدَ كُلِّ زَمَانِ. Pay attention to this. He said, do you not know that the people of the Sunnah, they are the ghuraba, they are the strangers, in truth, in every time. Alright? He says, of course. The answer to this is of course. وَاللَّهُ أَهْلُ السُنَّةِ هُمُ غُرَبَاءُ حَقًّا فِي كُلِّ مَكَانٍ اللَّهُمَّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ الْغُرَبَاءَ آمين. So Shaykh al-Uthaymeen said, of course. He says that they are, Ahl Sunnah are the strangers, in truth, in every place. And we ask Allah Jalla wa'ala to make us from these strangers. Ameen. He said, Ahl Sunnah hum ghuraba'u haqiqatan wa law ta'ammadta tariqa lawajadta anna amraka dhalik. He says, so the people of the Sunnah, they are the strangers in reality, and if you truly was to reflect upon history, you will find that this is the affair. That the affair is like this. He says, في الخلفات وأراء وعقائد والملل تجد صاحب السنة كغرة وجه الفرس قريب بين الناس ثم يصل متحديا فيقول. Pay attention now. He says, throughout all of the distortions amongst people, opinions of men, and different types of innovations and distortions in Aqidah and Creed, and all of these different things, these oppositions that's different to the Sunnah and the Quran, and he's going astray and so forth, you will find that the person who clings firmly to the Sunnah, you will find that this individual, he will still be one who considered to be a stranger amongst all of those different deviations and the likes. And then the author, he asks a nice question, and this is what we base this whole talk on today. He says, كُلِّ مَتَى سَلِمَ الرَّسُولُ وَصَحْبُهُ وَالتَّابِعُونَ لَهُمْ عَلَى الْإِحْسَانِ مِنْ جَاهِلٍ وَمُعَانِدٍ وَمُنَافِقٍ وَمُحَارِبٍ بِالْبَغْيِ وَالتُّمْيَانِ. He says, قُلْ, say to me, مَتَى سَلِمُ الرَّسُولُ وَصَحْبُهُ وَتَابِعُونَ لَهُمْ عَلَى الْإِحْسَانِ. Tell me, when was the messenger and the companions and the tabi'un, those who were upon goodness, when were they ever free from the jahil, from the mu'anid, from the munafiq, from the muharib, in their transgression and their calamity and their persecution and their attacks and their assaults? When were they ever free from them? Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he said, مَتَى سَلِمُوا مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ. When were they ever free from the horns of these people? هَلْ سَلِمُوا, were they ever free? He said, مَا سَلِمَ الرَّسُولُ وَلَا الصَّحَابَ مِنَ الْأَذَى. You will not find that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam nor his companions were free from harm. He says, بَلْ إِنَّ ثَلَاثَةٍ مِنْ خُلَفَائِهِ وَهُمْ عُمَرُ وَعُثْمَانُ وَعَلِيُّ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عنْهُ قُتِلَ عَلَى أَيْدِي أَعْدَائِهِمْ. He says, rather from three amongst the successors of the Prophet ﷺ from the Khulafa, you had Umar, who was the Khalif, you had Uthman, who was the Khalif, you have Ali, who was the Khalif. They all were killed at the hands of the enemy. They all had martyrdom from the hands of the enemy. These was companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They weren't free from being harmed. They were killed. Uthman was killed while reciting the book of Allah on top of the roof. Ali ibn Abi Talib was actually killed. You understand that? Umar ibn Khattab was killed by a Majus while he was in prayer. Was they free? They had the Quran and the Sunnah with them. You think because you're wearing your niqab and the neighbor down the street, she doesn't like you because you wear your niqab, now all of a sudden you feel as though, oh, maybe the deen. No! That comes along with the territory. It comes along with it. Allah Azza wa Jalla says what? حَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says what? Do the people think that they what? Going to be left alone because they say we believe and they're not going to be tested? Indeed, we test those who came before. Indeed, we test them. And indeed, for what? Allah can make known those who are truthful and those who are liars. You want to be truthful in your claim. You want to be truthful upon Islam. Soon when some adversity come to you by way of you practicing the deen, you get some slack or some feedback from somebody that dislike you because you're practicing the deen. Now you want to cower. Now you want to feel as though maybe it's the deen for you. No, it doesn't work that way. So Ibn Qayyim is telling you in his 2 lines of poetry, he's saying what? The messenger wasn't free from this harm. The companions wasn't free from this harm. The tabi'een wasn't free from this harm. What makes you think you're going to be free from this harm? He says, فَمَا سَلِمُوا مِنْ جَاهِلٍ وَمُعَانِدٍ وَمُنَافِقٍ وَمُحَارِبٍ بِالْبَقِّ وَالتُّبْيَانِ. They were not free from the ignorant individual. They were not free from the mu'anid. They were not free from the munafiq. They wasn't free from the muharib with his transgression. فهؤلاء أربعة أصناف كلهم مستدون لعذاب الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وصحبه وأتباعه. He said that these 4 types of group or 4 types of people that he mentioned, all of them had made preparations and war to harm the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, and those who followed him. He says, as far as the jahil, he says al-jahilun. He said jahilun la ya'lamu. What it means is the one who doesn't have any knowledge. Ummiyun yu'di ahl al-haqqi wa yuraddu qawlahum. He says he's an ummi and he's an illiterate individual, and he's the one who caused harm to the people of truth, and he yuraddu qawlahum, and he rejects their statements. He says, as for the second one, the mu'anid, then he has some truth with him. There's some truth that can be found with him. However, he has some knowledge with him as well. لكن متعصب المعاند. However, he is the one who is a blind fanatical. He's fanatical towards his stance or his positions of his sheikh or so forth and so on. So he's a mu'anid. That's why he's obstinate. Okay? He says the munafiq, he says يأخذ بالتقية ومنافق هو أشرهم. And the munafiq, the hypocrite, is the most worst of all of them. All 4. He says why? He says because the hypocrite is just as the sha'ir, the line of poetry. He says يُعْتِيكَ مِنْ طَرَفِ اللِّسَانِ حَلَاوَةٍ. Meaning that you were giving from parts of your tongue the sweetness that comes out of your mouth, right? وَيَرُوغُ مِنْكَ كَمَا يَرُوغُ الثَّعْلَبُ. Right? And then, it comes out like a person can be given this sweetness, and it's like a tha'lab, right? He says, يَلْقَاكَ يَحْلِفُ أَنَّهُ بِكَ وَاثِقٌ. Meaning you swear from your mouth, right? Someone that meets you, you swear from your mouth that you are this trustworthy individual. وَإِذَا تَرَى عَنْكَ فَهْوَ أَقْرَبُ. He says, but if the person was to turn away from you and not accept this claim from you and so forth, then he will be someone like a scorpion. فَأَقْرَبُ. He said, مُنَافِقُ هُوَ بَلَاء. He said the hypocrite is the one who put people to trials. He's a test. He's a calamity. إِذَا كَلَمْتَهُ قَالَ هَذَا هُوَ حَقٌّ. If you speak with this individual, he say this is the truth. Alhamdulillah الذي. He say إِذَا كَلَمْتَهُ. He said قَالَ هَذَا هُوَ الْحَقِّ. This is the truth. Alhamdulillah الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. He says all praise belong to Allah, the one who have guided us to this, and we would never have been able to be guided if Allah has not guided us. However, إِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. However, when they're not with you, and then they with their, their real friends, they're with their other party, as Allah talks about the hypocrites, when they're with their shayateens, the devils, they say إِنَّ مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَحْزِيُونَ. Rather, we with you, we was just only mocking them, right? هؤلاء قلوبهم سليمة ينطلي عليهم وحق. These are the individuals who you think that their hearts are sound. Okay? آمنوا إذا, that they say they believe when they meet them. وإذا قال بعضكم إلى بعض, when they left alone by themselves, they disbelieve. He said the 4th one is the muharib. That's the one who waged war against the people of the sunnah. He said this is also severe as well. He says meaning he is the one أَرْوَضَ الرَّقْبَتَهُ لِلسَّيْفِ. He is the one who opposes or put forth harm towards the individual by trying to strike them with the sword. من أجل أن يقيم ما هو عليه من الباطل. He fight to establish the falsehood that he's upon. ولم يبالي, and he doesn't care who he harmed or who he hurt. Doing that, فهو معلن بالعداوة. He is the one who have announced publicly. He made it clear. He declared to everyone that of his animosity and his hatred. هل سلم الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام من هذه أصناف أربعة؟ الجواب لا. So the question, Sheikh Uthaymeen, said that the Prophet was free from all 4 of these things, 4 of these type of people, or these 4 types of people. No, the Prophet wasn't free. He had people trying to kill him. He had people who waged war against him. He had hypocrites during his times. He had people who actually had some type of truth with them, but they rejected it. He had people who was actually ignorant, who still try to harm him. So you cannot believe that for 1 second you're going to come into this deen and nothing going to touch you. That's why he say next. وَتَظُنُّ أَنَّكَ وَارِثٌ لَهُمُ وَمَا دُقْتَ الْعَدَى فِي نُصْرَةِ الرَّحْمَنِ. And you're going to think that just because you are the inherited of what they have, right, that no harm is going to touch you in supporting and aiding the deen of Ar-Rahman, right? He says, Shaykh al-Qayyim said this line of poetry, saying that you think that you're going to inherit the Prophet ﷺ inheritance and you're not going to be taxed with no harm. He said, "In kunta tadunu dhalik," he said, if you truly thought that, then indeed you have been destroyed by your own thinking. He says, لِأَنَّ إِرْثَ يَقْتَدِي تَلَقِّ مَا تَرَكَهُ مُوَرِّثُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. He said, because a person who inherited from someone else, okay, when you inherit something from someone else, you inherited everything that comes along with the inheritor that left you behind. Do you understand the stuff that he left? He said, fit da'wah, like the Prophet ﷺ in calling, you're going to taste some of that what he tastes in actions, and having patience upon that which is the harms that you're going to receive. Okay, and also as regards to the whole the entire dunya, the cheapness of the entire dunya for the purpose of establishing or actualizing this da'wah. Wallahu hadha dhannu khati'ul kha'ib. If somebody think that they're going to just come into Islam and not taste any harms, he said that this is this type of thinking is a mistake and it's destructive. All right. He says, "Aina irth? Where's this inheritance you think you're going to get? He's saying that you have this inheritance. What? إذا لم يصبك ما أصابه أو شيء منه أو ما نوعه. You think that you're not going to be afflicted with something? None of that going to touch you. The messenger had to go through it. The companions had to go through it. The tabi'een had to go through it. The A'imma had to go through it. But now you don't have to go through it, right?" He says, فَإِنَّكَ قَاصِرٌ فِي إِرْثِ الرَّسُولِ. Rather, what's going to happen is you're going to be deficient in your inheritance from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَلَا يُمْكِنْ أَن تُفْرَشَ الْأَرْضُ زُهُورًا وَوْرُودًا لِلْإِنسَانِ مُتَمَسِّكٍ بِالسُّنَّةِ كَمَا يَنْبَغِي أَبَدًا فَمَنْ رَامَ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ رَامَ مَحَالٍ. Because you can't think that all of this stuff that's going to take place, all right, that for a person who holds firmly to the sunnah, that he's not going to taste or not get a portion of all of this. No, you can't think that. He says, rather, whoever thinks that or whoever carries like that, he's thinking of something that's really that's impossible. He said, all you got to do is investigate in history. Go back and look in history. You will see. You will not find a person who stood up for the truth, who stood for the sake of Allah except that he received some harm from the people. However, this harm that was dished out was what? Different. Each person received harm differently. He says possible that a person can, for the person who can receive some type of harm, he wasn't doing it so that he can establish some authority in the land, for example, or that he was establishing some nobility of a person or some honor according with the people, or status or reputation. He says, or some other fears that will prevent him. Rather, you will find that this individual will taste some type of harm. Then the Shaykh, he brings a beautiful point here in the next line of poetry, and we get ready to stop. He says, Kalla. After he asked that question, he said, never. وَلَا جَهَدْتَ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ فِي اللَّهِ لَا بِيَدٍ وَلَا بِلِسَانِ. He says, no, you have not estimated Allah with a true estimation. All right? In other words, you have not strove, you have not fought, and gave Allah a true jihadi and a true fighting for the sake of Allah, not with your hands, neither with your tongue. He says, لا جهاد بيد وجهاد اليد يكون بقلم ويكون بالسيف. Shaykh al-Qayyim says that jihad al-yad, that fighting with the hands, can be done in multiple ways, and one of them it can be with the pen. So like writing poems like this to refute Ahlul Bidah, or writing books, as you see from the ulama, that refute misconceptions and distortions in the deen. All of that is by way of jihad of the pen. And then you can have jihad also with the hands, like they fought the mujahideen, fighting against the people physically. Qayyim. He says, he mentioned next, he says, also jihadul lisan can be that which is done with the tongue, and also turidan takuna warithan lirrasul sallallahu la. He said, do you think you're going to inherit all of this and not be able to do all of these things? That you're not going to fight with your hands and for the sake of Allah? That you're not going to fight with your tongue for the sake of Allah, but you're going to inherit what the Prophet sallallahu have? He said, إذا كنت تريد هذا أو تظن أنك وارثه فقد خاب ظنك. If you think that this, you're going to be the one that want this, and that you're going to inherit this from the Prophet ﷺ, and you're not going to do all of this what we just mentioned before, he said indeed that you have been destroyed by your thinking. مَنَّتْكَ وَاللَّهُ الْمَحَالَ النَّفْسُ فَاسْتَحْدِثْ سِوَادَ الرَّأْيِ وَالْحُسْبَانِ. Meaning The Prophet ﷺ, he says, in a tremendous hadith, is collected by At-Tirmidhi, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that the one who is incapable is the one who follows his own passions and lusts, and he places his hope in Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? He says, فأنت إذا كنت تمنيك نفسك أن تصل إلى درجة النبيين ووارث النبيين وأنت لم تكن بما قام به النبيون من الدعوة والصبر على أدافها فإن نفسك تمنيك محال. He says, so if you think you're going to reach this position, for example, he said, if you think you're going to reach the levels of the prophets or the stations of the prophets, all right, and you're going to inherit from the prophets, he said, and you're not going to do what they did, you're not going to establish what they did, and you're not going to face what they did. He says, in regards to giving dawah and having patience upon the harms that comes along with that, he said that in reality what you have placed in yourself is these false hopes. Tamanika, you have placed this impossible stuff. You're hoping for something that's impossible. He said, يعني هذا شيء مستحيل. It's impossible. Something that is impossible. وأنت إذا نظرت إلى الذين قاموا بدعوة إلى الله وجدتهم أشد الناس عدية من غيرهم. He said, because if you were to look at those who established the da'wah in the sake of Allah, you will find that there are the people who are the severe and foreign harmed than other than them. when كانت عادية تختلف, even if the harm they receive and the persecution they receive were different. وقد يوجد لها موانع لكن لا بد منها. فهذا إمام أحمد. And we all know about the story of Imam Ahmed and the mi'na that happened to Imam Ahmed. And I know many people say, okay, I hear Ibn Qayyim, right? We're not scholars. We're not students of knowledge. We live in, everyday lives. We work in, some of us work in 9 to 5. Some of us are entrepreneurs. Some of us, striving the best way we can. And some of us don't have knowledge like that about Islam and the deen, right? So I hear all of that, but how can we be people who can consider to be inherited from the Prophet ﷺ when we don't even fit into these realm? We're not so knowledgeable. But you're wrong. You're wrong on multiple levels, because the moment you said La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, you have took it upon yourself a covenant, and that was an ahd. That was a covenant between you and Allah, and you have came into Islam. So every hatred that is levied towards Islam, levied towards it, you share that. You share that. Do you understand that? And you have to understand that the hatred that the people had towards Islam, it wasn't towards the person themselves. It wasn't their personality, as Shaykh Qayyim is going to explain. He's going to explain that the prophets, before they came to their people, especially Muhammad ﷺ, he was known as Amin. He was trustworthy amongst them, right? He was known at all of these noteworthy or praiseworthy characteristics, right? They didn't start disliking him until when? He told them that he was a messenger, that he was warning. So it was based off Islam why they started hating him. Do you understand that? It was based off that is the reason why they started hating him. So the fact that you are Muslim, you're living in a society where you are a stranger, man. You trying to hold on to morality, hold on to that which is right. You are a stranger. Why are you trying to fit in? Why are you trying to buddy with this one or that one? Why are you trying to be accepted? You're not going to be accepted. Allah tells you over and over in the Quran, لَن تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. Do you not pay attention? Allah tells Muhammad ﷺ that neither the Jews nor the Christians will ever be pleased with you until you follow their way. All right? The individual will see you as a swear. You don't party. You don't get high. You don't drink. You don't do, no girlfriends, no boyfriends. You don't listen to music. You don't do this. You don't do that. They look at you like you're a swear, man. And you, instead of understanding this, that's why he said, لَا تُوحِشَنَّكَ كُرَبًا. Don't be isolated in your strangeness. This is what he's trying to tell you. Don't allow yourself to be isolated, thinking that no one is with you. No, you're upon the haqqa. You get 50 rewards of being upon the haqqa. Yes, everyone in your family not Muslim. So what? Guess what? You get all of the rewards of practicing the deen of Islam. Yes, everyone, your cousin that you grew up with, she or he no longer actually deals with you because you calling to Allah or you practicing or you worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal. So what? So what? Bashing that. Smile at the simple fact that Allah guided you. And be strong and firm upon that. This is what he's saying. لا توحشنك كربة. That's what he's telling you. بين وراء فالناس كالأموات في الحسبان. He's telling you this because the people in reality are dead. The ones that are truly alive are the ones who understand the fiqh of life. They're the ones who are alive. The people who understand the fiqh of life. They understand, as we said before, be firm, O soul. عسى أن يكون الرحيل قريب. They know that the journey and the departure from this dunya is soon to take place. They know it. So they understand the fiqh of life. When you look at other individuals, you can see that they're dead. Their minds and their bodies are all enslaved towards the dunya. And I'm not just saying the dunya like that, because maybe you don't understand what I'm saying. It's enslaved towards what they're working for, and they never really get it. Do you understand that? Sure. Ibn Qayyim, he says, هربوا من الرك الذي خلقوا له فبلوا من برك النفس والشيطان. He says about these individuals who have preferred the life of this world over that which is the everlasting life. He said that these individuals in reality, what they do is they war against the servitude for that which they have been created for. You have to understand what he's saying. He's saying that you were made to be a slave, but to whom? You were made to be a slave, but to whom? Now you war against that servitude for exchange of what? فَبُلُوا بِالرِّكِّ النَّفْسِ وَالشَّيْطَانِ. You exchange the servitude for which you were created for the servitude of your desires and the shaitan. That's it. Basically, every time you say, I'm not going to follow Allah's commands, I'm not going to stay away from His prohibitions, I'm not going to do what the Creator created me for, I'm following my nafs, my desires, and I'm following the shaitan. That's what you're saying. So in actuality, you just changed one servitude for another. You're still a slave. Either you're going to be a slave to Ar-Rahman, or you're going to be a slave to your desires and the shaitan. You're still a slave. That's the reality. And tell me you don't feel like a slave, working 13 hours a day. You can't even put your hat down for a minute, right? This and this and that. Working non-stop. Just slavery. Economic. Back to back. Can't get a moment of really worshiping. Can't get a moment of really reflecting. Can't get a moment of just taking time and enjoying life. You're not a slave? Tell me you're not a slave. Huh? And then this is the cycle of it, because you don't really get it. The cycle is this. The more you work that hard, the more the income increase, the more you want whatever the dunya has to offer. So now you are telling yourself, I need to get this, I need to get that, I need to get that. Now just the more the responsibility then raised up on you, right? And now you're trying to keep up with that Joneses. Now you got to keep and maintain that. So now you got to work more hours. You see that? And you're not a slave? But guess what? While you're working those more hours, you're not getting no ibadah. You barely got time to offer salat. Right? You barely got time for Jumu'ah. You barely got time for any of those things. True reflection. You're not worrying about that. And guess what? All of that you work hard for is automatically going to bring you stress. As Ibn Qayyim said elsewhere, فَلَقَدْ تَرَحَلُ عَنْهُ كُلَّ مَصَرَّةٍ وَتَبَدَّلَتْ بِالْحَمِّ وَالْأَحْزَانِ. He says that, and soon this happiness that you are taking in from the joy of the desires, the things that you got, it soon will be exchanged with sadness and grief. Because that's what's going to happen. That appliance is no longer going to work. It's going to wear and tear. The garment going to wear and tear. You're going to need new shoes. You're going to need a new car. The car breaking down. You're going to need a new this. The house need to be remodeled or refixed. It's going to keep giving you problems. I remember you was happy when you first got the house, right? You was extremely happy when you got the car, right? You was extremely happy you got the outfit. You had this, you had that. But guess what it brought you after that? It brought you sadness and grief, because now you realize, oh, I outgrown this, or this got a rip in it, or this got to get this, or I need the next this, you see? So it's going to be exchange. It doesn't remain. It travels. In other words, he says it doesn't stay in one way. It moves from happiness to exchanging it with sadness and grief. That's what you are slaving yourself for. This is what he's explaining here. Last but not least, I got to finish this. He says, you already mentioned about that. I'm not going to go in too far about that. You already know about the different people who stood in the path of Islam and so forth, and all of the different things that happened. But one point that he did bring that you need to understand, that Allah Jalla wa Ala did says in Surah Al-Furqan, Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَوْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا مِنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. So it's important that you understand that for every prophet, Allah Jalla wa Ala has made an enemy from amongst the criminals. So also you need to know what that means. فَيَلْزَمُ أَنْ يَجْعَلَ لِكُلِّ تَابِعٍ نَبِيًّا عَدُوًّا مِنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. So he said this necessitates that anyone who follows, for every follower of the Prophet ﷺ, there is an enemy for him from amongst the mujrimeen. And trust me, that enemy can come in the form of your friend, the form of your relative, the form of your mom, the form of your parents, the form of your grandfather, the form of your grandma. That enemy can come in any form. I do hope you understand that, right? It doesn't specify the enemy going to come this way. No, the enemy can come. You might find the person who you were real cool with. Y'all was real close. But the fact that you are now worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla, they hate you. And you're still trying to figure out, why do they hate you? It's not you that they hate. They hate the fact that you have given in to the servitude of the Creator, and it made you stand apart from them. because you have given into that which is right. And then they throw words at you. Oh, you pious. Oh, you so righteous. Oh, you so this. And they try to make you think that this is what you're doing to them. But you're not the one walking around talking about you're pious. All you can see is your flaws. All you can see is how deficient you are. All you is doing is trying to beg your Lord for forgiveness. But they're going to make you feel as though that you're trying to be pious or you're trying to be righteous and you're looking your nose down on them and you're bigging yourself up. No, that's because it's the guiltness inside them, because they see the distinction of what has been changed. You were able, by the permission of Allah, to remove yourself from what was being foul to being that which is right. And that wasn't done by your own doing. That still was done by the Creator. But they don't know that. So they hate you because of that. And that's no matter who they are. They hate you. You're not going to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and not take no problems. What are you thinking? This is what he's saying. If you say la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, you're going to have enemies. It's a must. That's what he's saying. Individuals coming to Islam, why do we got to go through this? Why did it this? What do you think? What do you think? It's going to happen. See, the and that's the point that I mentioned earlier. He says that the mujrimun, they did not oppose or object or have animosity towards the prophets because of their personalities. The Prophet ﷺ was known to be trustworthy. That wasn't the problem. So he says here, ibhat ra'yan ghayra hada. He said, don't give in to this thought. Look for another opinion. Don't look into this opinion. He says, لَوْ كُنْتَ وَارِثَهُ لَأَذَاكَ الْأُولَى وَرِثُ وَعِدَاهُ بِسَائِرِ الْأَلْوَانِ. And this is the last line of poetry, so we can stop into this. He says, لَوْ كُنْتَ وَارِثَهُ. If you are one who's going to really inherit the Prophet ﷺ inheritance, he says, لَأَذَاكَ الْأُولَى وَرِثُ وَعِدَاهُ وَهَذَا صَحِيحٌ. Shaykh Qayyim said that this line of poetry is true. It's correct. He says what it means is if you are truly going to be one who inherited what the Prophet ﷺ had in reality, وَقَائِمًا بِمَا قَامَ بِهِ, and you're going to establish that which he have established. لَعَذَاكَ أَعْدَاهُ الَّذِينَ كَانُوا يُؤْذُونَهُ. You're going to face from his enemies those who have caused him harm. You're going to face some of the same thing here. Meaning not the exact enemies, as Shaykh Qayyim said, even from their kinds and their categories or their types. He says because he can't be talking about the personalities, meaning like Abu Jahl is not going to be the one that's going to harm me and you. He's dead. But he's talking about the peoples like Abu Jahl. All right? The mujrimuns are similar like Abu Jahl. They're still going to try to harm you. He says, Bisa'ir al-alwani. What does he mean by this? Muta'allakun bi-adha. He said this is connected to the word adha, meaning the horns. Right? La-adhaka. Bil-alwan, bi-sa'ir al-alwani. Meaning that sa'ir is like the rest of alwan. All right? And sometimes alwan can be meaning like colors, but here it's not saying that. He's saying that, in other words, mentioning here is meaning the different types of horns that will take place to you because of that. You're going to face a lot of horns trying to hold forth to this beautiful deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you don't have to keep wrecking your brain every 5 seconds why your neighbor up the street doesn't like you, or why your co-workers doesn't like you, or why the city that you live in doesn't like you. You live in a predominantly kuffar land. That's number one. And you don't got to run to all of these different groups and jama'at to try to feel like a place of belongingness. You don't have to do that. You don't got to run and say, you know what, I'm Aborigine now, so I'm going to take my comfort in that. And you know what, the colonizers, they are doing this to me, so we need to form up. And you don't have to do that. You have the Quran and the Sunnah for comfort. You don't have to run and say, I'm this or I'm that. You don't have to do that. None of that don't mean nothing. People hearts are people hearts. That's the problem. Whether you white, black, red, brown, whatever you are, we still share the same characteristics. And what are they? You still can be evil or you can be good. You still can be evil or you can be good. If you got a sound heart, you're going to be good. If you got a corrupt heart, you're going to be bad. Period. No matter whatever you are, right? There are doubles amongst every race. You understand? So if that's the case, then we don't have to run here to try to feel comfortable. No, we take comfort in the Sunnah. We take comfort that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they do camel dung. Do you understand that? That what Abu Jahl wanted to go place some camel dung on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was praying in the haram. Camel dung, some poop, other words, from a camel. You understand? This is look how hatred is. How can you hate a man because he's praying? What can possess you to dislike somebody for praying? Just understand what I'm saying. He's praying. He's not praying to no idol. There was no statues in front of him. There was nothing. He was praying, and this animosity drew this individual to want to put camel dung onto the Messenger of Allah until his daughter came and went there to protect him. But as he got close, the angels came down and frightened him. Do you understand this? This is important. Why would you think somebody dislike you? Your mother can really dislike you because you're holding on to Islam. Your brother can dislike you because you're holding on to Islam. Your sister can dislike you because you're holding on to Islam. But guess what? Take comfort, because the messenger went through the same thing, or even worse. The companions went through the same thing, or even worse. The tabi'un went through the same thing, or even worse. The a'imma went through the same thing, or even worse. You understand? So you're not alone. لا توحشنك غربة بين وراء. That's what he's telling you. You're not alone and you're strange. Yeah, you gharib. Tuba lil ghuraba. You are a stranger, but you're not alone. You might feel like you're alone in the house because so-and-so is this and so-and-so is that. But guess what? You're not alone. You're not alone. So I just wanted to bring this as a beautiful reminder to myself, first and foremost, and to you all, inshallah ta'ala. Hold firm, okay? The time when the matter is soonly going to take place. Don't give up. Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel disheartened because people in your family members haven't accepted Islam. Hold on, or because they persecute you or make you feel that way. Hold on. This is another reason why you have to understand you need to have friends amongst the Muslimin. I don't understand where we be getting this from. We don't have friends amongst the Muslimin. I'm talking about not any friend because a person's got a beard or a person wear jilbab and get caught. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about, first and foremost, those praying Muslimun. Those people who praying. Those people who really try to strive. Why are you not making them your friends? Allah ordered you in the Quran to take them as your friends. Why don't you understand? Allah says about the mu'minuna, ba'aduhum ala ba'd. Awliya. He says, al-mu'minuna awliya ba'aduhum ala ba'd. He said that the believers are awliya to one another. So why are you not taking the believers as friends? But you rather go take so-and-so down the street who is a kafir as your friend. Does that make sense? Does that honestly make sense? That the moment you don't even understand what's in their heart for you in terms of what you are upon, but yet this is what you want to make as a friend, we have to go back to sticking to the Quran and the Sunnah and understanding the reward that comes for it. Whatever we said that was incorrect in our translation was from ourselves and the shaitan. Whatever we said is correct from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallahu khairan.